Hey there, everybody. We are down in the woods today, and I've been moving a whole lot of chip with just a wheelbarrow and my back and a pitchfork. And it is nice to take a moment and be doing something that is slightly less physically intensive than that. So we are here. I'll turn the camera around momentarily to give you a better idea of where we are. And we are adding some cuttings to the food forest in a forest today. And I thought this would be a nice little break for me and an opportunity to show you how I've been approaching adding cuttings in this context, as this is a kind of periodic flush of activity where we try really hard to integrate things in the interstitial edges of the growing season, whether it's planting in the fall or planting in the spring. My preference is to plant in the fall, and that is twofold. But let's get to doing the work. So I have a number of elderberry cuttings. These are the cuttings from the one that was growing up by the duckyard in a particularly shady spot and still managed to do pretty well for itself. So I thought to myself that that sort of epigenetic expression would be advantageous for parts of the forest garden. So we have that, and then we have my little 4-tine garden fork. This is different than a hay fork or a mulch fork. A little bit sturdier construction. It is a little bit on the older side, but let me show you why it's one of my favorite things. At least for doing this sort of thing. So we are down at the pond. Down at my feet, you'll notice that we have some branch litter, some young beeches, some young birches, some very small blueberries. Some of them are the low bush, but we also have some high bush in here. And so this is the context for these elderberry cuttings. I know from experience and from the way that the beeches are growing behind me that this gap in the canopy provides a whole lot of sunlight for this space during the growing season, if we get sunlight during the growing season. And so what I'm coming to do is to just insert a handful of cuttings in little small clusters of 4, so that even if I only have a 25% survival rate, at least I've got that plant in place. And if not, it is not dissimilar from if a bird were to have eaten a handful of berries and landed on one of these small branches and pooped out a few seeds. So what we're going to do is just very gently take some of this tree litter away. Just like that. And very slowly, we're just going to sink it a little bit. Give it a little wiggle. And then we're going to grab some cuttings. Give me just a sec. The camera's going to get a little wacky. Okay, so we have our 4 cuttings. They have mostly calloused over and have not really started pushing roots, so there's not a whole lot for me to damage here. And what I've done is, instead of using the blade of a shovel that would cut through a large number of root mat, or a large portion of root mat in this area, and could negatively impact a whole number of the plants growing in this space because their roots are all intertangled and intertwined in this as they're sharing nutrient through the mycelial network down here. But what I can do is, with the sharpened tips of this. I'm going to quickly get through anything, but it's not going to tear apart and sever that root mat. So we'll pull this up. And now I have 4 perfect little holes for these cuttings. And we'll just stick them down. You don't have to go very deep, just enough to get them seated well. And we're just going to come in, apologize for the noise. If there is some, there's some. And we're just stepping them in pretty gently. Cool, cool, cool. We're just going to kick over some of the leaves that we disturbed. Let them share in the mulch with their neighbors. And that's it for this spot. Let's go to another. We're over by the swale now, the drainage channel that runs from the pond over to the boundary with the neighboring property. And there is a collection of beeches right here. And so I know that there is at least some sun access through this channel here, but also above us, some of these trees are going to be removed, going in that direction for their dropping, their felling. So I know that we'll have more sun access in this space as well, and we can do another coppice cut for some of these beeches. And so we're going to come around, and what I'd like to do is take advantage of some of this break in the canopy. And I know it doesn't really look like a whole lot, but again, some of these trees will be coming out. There are safe drop lanes for a few of them now going that way that won't impact crucial growing spaces when they drop. And so we'll have even more sun access for this space here. And there is not a whole lot of food for the animals growing here, and for the wildlife, or for us. And so this seems like a decent spot. Give me just a sec. There's a sponginess over here to the ground that was not as noticeable over by the pond. So I'm hopeful that these will have a good chance to root deeply. And it seems like I've hit the base of where I can get that one in. Let's see if we can get this one a little further. Yep, that's about where I want them buried to. But when you are doing this sort of thing in a forested context, it can be challenging to get to the exact planting depth that you're looking for without causing damage to the overstory trees. So again, just give them that little blanket with some airspace. Give this guy a little bit of sunlight. Just let him keep producing some of those sugars for itself. But we want to keep the roots and where the roots will be pretty well insulated. So this is my project for the last half hour or so before I have to go up and take care of the ducks, put them away for the night. So I hope you find this helpful. Till next time, thanks for watching. Happy planting.